I was talking to somebody about this last night. The Colts are in a mode right now where they have a good team. They just can't get certainty and continuity at the quarterback position. And they really were lost as of a week ago. What were they going to do? Were they going to give up too much to get Jimmy Garoppolo? Were they going to bring in Baker Mayfield and have some of the similar issues that they had with Carson Wentz? What were they going to do? This Matt Ryan thing falls out of the sky. It's manna from heaven for Chris Ballard, Jim Irsay, and Frank Reich.
It really is. You're right about that. I was sitting there, last week. You're right. Just sitting there going, man, what are the Colts going to do? I mean, are they really going to go the Jimmy Garoppolo route? That's where I was kind of like bringing my mind, and because it seemed like it was kind of dwindling down to that's the only option. And I kept sitting there going, I don't know if that makes sense, if that's really a good fit there. Are they going to want to do that? And again, rolling the dice on a Jimmy Garoppolo, I thought it was a little like Carson Wentz and Baker Mayfield, and how that's why they got out of that. This was an unbelievable blessing for the organization. It really was. And a guy like we talked about, yeah, he's not one of the young superstars of the league, but damn good. Can carry your team in tough moments during a football game and get them over the hump when you're kind of stalled out. And then, of course, is going to be the professional and the leader that you want in your locker room and everything there. It's just they hit the jackpot here. It fell into a scenario that was about as good as I think they could have imagined in Indianapolis this year, if I could say that right, in Indianapolis this year.
Yeah, that's the old March Madness commercial with, was it Charles Barkley saying Indianapolis?
Yeah, Indianapolis. Right,
Indianapolis.
Right.
They were driving to Annapolis because Charles thought it was Indianapolis. Here is Matt Ryan in Indianapolis yesterday talking about why he chose the Colts when the opportunity to leave Atlanta arose.
I didn't like everything I heard, but you don't always like what you hear sometimes. But they, were professional and handled it really well. I knew, at some point I was going to need to make a decision on whether or not I wanted to stay. And as I looked into it, I knew there was only one spot I wanted to go. And there was no doubt that if I were to make a move, this is exactly where I wanted to be.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's an upgrade. The only problem is it's in the AFC. That's the only downside. Yeah. If the Colts just happened to be in the NFC like they used to be in the NFL, they were one of the NFL teams that got moved to the AFL's conference during the merger, along with the Steelers and the Browns and several others, if I sit and think about it long enough. But they would be very happy if they were in the NFL/NFC right now, because it would be a lot easier to compete with that team. They are going to be in the meat grinder. They make the Colts stronger. Matt Ryan makes the Colts stronger, and hey, they could kick the Titans to the curb now in the AFC South.
Definitely, yeah, I think they're a team that's kind of looking to play like Tennessee, right? I mean, it's hey, balanced football. We're gonna run the ball. We're going to take our shots down the field. We're going to have a really good defense. You're going to have to play a well-rounded football game to beat us. And our quarterback, is smart, knows how to take care of the ball, and is, going to hit the bullseye more times than not. There's a lot of similarities there. And again, Matt Ryan, the interesting thing is if their Colts weren't available, what was he going to do? He's probably going to just stand pat, right? If this situation isn't available like this, because the other options out there, I don't think are for a guy like Matt Ryan. He was going to look at and go, "Oh, whoa, that's a significant upgrade from where I am. I'm going to go there." No, all the other options out there got a lot of ifs and buts and question marks and everything like that. So that's where it's great for him. It makes a lot of sense. Quarterbacks usually know crossover film, got the right coaches to talk about as far as, hey, let me figure out what a team really is and let me do a little, due diligence on looking into the team, scouting it myself, talk to a few coaches and people I know that I trust that really can evaluate a football team. And I'm sure he looked into that, even though they haven't played the Colts, I don't think, in the last 2 years. He went, whoa, there's some stuff here to like about this football team, and this is the spot to go if I get out of town. And, hey, it's another move we're looking at. We put them in the category. Could this be Stafford and Brady? Can they be it? The problem is we got like 5 of those stories this year that could be Stafford or Brady.
Well, that's right. It could be Russell Wilson in Denver, and it definitely could be, not will be, but it could be Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. That was one of the things he talked about yesterday. Here he is on this dynamic of veteran quarterback switching team, winning Super Bowl right away like Stafford did in 2021 and Brady the year before that when he went to Tampa. Here's Ryan.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. The roadmap looks really good. And what Matthew Stafford did in LA last year, making that transition, playing so well, and what Tom did, I saw that firsthand in division the year before. Hopefully, we bottle up some of that momentum and we can make a push here. I really believe we can. I think this roster is built really well. They're sound across the board, built with, really high character football players, guys who work hard. I mean, it's amazing to me in sending a bunch of texts and talking to some guys yesterday just back and forth how much they care about winning. In every one of their first text messages, it was about winning. And that's unique. It really is, and that fires me up. So I hope we can, like I said, ride that trend that's been going on and make it work for us.
It makes you wonder whether or not the Falcons players sent text messages to each other talking about winning. Maybe they didn't, based upon the way things have gone there in recent years.
There's no culture
there. Hasn't been much winning.
Yeah, exactly.
There hasn't. They're just, I really do believe that after the 28-3 debacle, that is something so historic and so depressing and so earth-shattering for a franchise that it really doesn't go away until everyone connected to it is gone, and then you rebuild. And I felt that way about the Seahawks after Super Bowl 49, although it was a different type of a collapse and calamity. They had the game won at the very end, and it was snatched away from them based upon the disputed run versus pass question. This 28-3, worst collapse we've ever seen. And I feel like it does send an organization into a tailspin.
Yeah.
And they're still working their way out of it. And maybe this is a necessary step. Julio Jones last year goes. This year it's Matt Ryan. And I feel like they're going to grope for a while as they try to decide where they're going and who they're going to be. But I think it was so bad that day, and it stays with that team. You just need to hit a reset button at some point. And you can't do it all at once because the reality is the salary cap. But over a 5-year period, you turn over everything, and you hope that you can just finally forget about that and move forward.
Yeah, I think that's a real thought. It's the worst loss in the history of the NFL. That's really bottom line. There it is. That's the banner statement, and it is tough to overcome. They rode the momentum the next year, going into Philadelphia, lost a close playoff game. They were still a really talented, good team, But then it was we just missed out on the playoffs, and it all started to fall apart, and the lifeline of that team was over. It was done. You're right. We started to question Dan Quinn within that Super Bowl. Well, he did not manage that. Now you start to question him going forward in the future. The Falcons are in a total rebuild phase. That's why I think they made this move. They realized, wait, we're not going anywhere right now. We're totally trying to start a new culture. Arthur Smith has got things on the right track. The new GM's got things on the right track, but they got to flip over that team. So they made that move. The time was now. Yeah, they flirted with Deshaun Watson. That messed up. It messed the relationship up with Matt Ryan. They had to make the move. Good for them. Matt Ryan, what he said, right? This, hopefully we can bottle up, this move and ride the momentum. Yeah, this is the kind of move that does give an organization a lot of momentum. Again, now people in the front office. Last year, hey, it's cool. We got Carson Wentz. We got a quarterback. He's got talent and he's got potential. This year, we got Matt Ryan. We got Matt Ryan, guys. That's all they have to say. Chris Ballard and people in the front office, they can walk around with their chest puffed out. They're going, damn, we got a guy that, we don't even have to worry about it anymore. We don't. He's going to be a machine. And the one thing I've heard about Matt Ryan, over the last year or two, because I think there was a little a phase in his career where people thought, he's kind of a know-it-all. He's got everything. He's been coached well. He's a pretty good professional. He doesn't want more plays or more thoughts on his plates. He kind of wants to stay in his comfort zone. The things I've heard, with people connected down in Atlanta, through Arthur Smith, and then even talking to Dave Ragone a few times, the quarterback coach down in Atlanta, who just couldn't rave enough about what Matt Ryan was down there and how he couldn't get over how accepting he was of coaching and that he was still the hardest worker on the football team and the first guy in there every day like he had something to prove. And I think Matt Ryan still does have a fire underneath his butt in a real way, and he's trying to chase that Super Bowl. And I think he got to a point of the career where he said, okay, enough loyalty. I'm out of here. They're not that loyal to me. I'm getting the hell out of here and going to go try to win one.
It really was jarring in recent years. I would interview him. He always does some sort of a media thing right before the start of the season, and that question comes up about playing for another team. When you see all the transition that's happening for older quarterbacks, it's more common than uncommon at this point, and he never, ever suggested anything other than a desire to stay with the Falcons for the rest of his career. That's what makes this one so jarring. Matt Ryan leaving the Falcons was on no one's bingo card for this offseason.
Right.
And even as of a week ago, 8 days ago, it really started to pop on Wednesday, I think. And then we started to put together the possibility that, yes, they could get Deshaun Watson. And then as of Thursday, that's when it first dawned on me. And if they don't get him, it may be Matt Ryan out of Atlanta, and that's ultimately what they get.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.